It's normal to experience a messy middle of building confidence. It is normal when you embark on your confidence building journey and you start taking up space and challenging yourself and taking risks. It is normal to have really big ups and downs, days where you feel unstoppable and amazing about yourself, and days where you feel really, really bad. This is a natural part of the process, and one of the most important things is to endure through that process long enough to achieve more permanent change and more permanent breakthrough in your inner strength and in your self-confidence. Welcome to The Art of Speaking Up, a podcast that helps professional women access the limitless potential that lies within them. I'm your host, Jessica Guzik, and my mission is to help you find that spark inside you that has the power to transform your career in ways you may not have thought possible. I'm so excited that you're here. And now, on to the show. Welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am super jazzed about today's episode because we're talking about internal transformation and building confidence. And these are some of my absolute favorite topics to dive into. So today's episode builds on last week's episode. So I'm going to give a really quick hyperspeed recap of what I covered in the episode before this. I strongly recommend also listening to that episode because it's going to provide valuable context to help you deepen your understanding of the transformation process. Then, after I've given that quick recap, today's episode is going to be all about giving you my best advice, wisdom, and philosophies for how to stick out that messy middle phase of your growth process where you've made some progress towards building confidence, but you aren't quite where you want to be. And it's still really difficult some days. And sometimes you just kind of want to throw it all away and give up because the emotions that come up in the ups and downs of the successes and failures feel intense and challenging. And they make you wonder if you're ever going to get to where you want to get to. And that can be a lot to hold. And so it can make you want to turn back on your goals and abandon your dreams. And if you're in a place where you want to double down on your dreams and you want to keep fighting and you want to keep going, but you need that push, that help, that wisdom, that encouragement, that motivation to continue to push through, that's what today's episode is all about. The coaching that I do with my clients is in large part intended to help them push through this messy middle phase and really get to cross that finish line where they feel a shift in their confidence and their internal resilience that feels like a permanent change in who they are and how they show up in the world. And I want to take that wisdom and everything I use in helping my clients achieve that change and share some thoughts that I think will help you along your journey. So first, the hyperspeed recap of last week's episode. Last week's episode was me sharing this macro idea that when it comes to you realizing your full potential, there are three places you can be along the spectrum. You can be completely unrealized in your full potential. This means you're not even trying to achieve your full potential because you don't even believe it's possible. You're not even putting yourself out there. You're not even playing the game. You're hiding, you're playing small, and that's where you're at in your process. The second place that you can be is half realized potential. This is the hardest place to be. This is where you've taken steps to try to grow your confidence. You're speaking up more, you're taking risks, you're raising your hand for scary things, and you're achieving some successes, but you haven't accomplished the more permanent, consistent change that you desire. So you experience a lot of emotional volatility. In that one day you might be having a really good day, you're experiencing a lot of wins, you're feeling on top of the world. But then the next day, you might not experience wins, you might fail, you might face plant at something. And that swing from highs to lows can be really emotionally intense. And it can make you wonder if you're ever going to really get to the place where you want to get to. And it can make you want to turn back and give up on yourself. And then there's the final place that you can be, which is when your potential is fully realized. So this is when you have crossed the finish line. You've endured through that messy middle phase of half realized potential, and you have stepped into your full potential, and you have achieved a level of confidence and a level of growth within you that feels permanent and feels like you won't turn back. Like something in you is just stronger than it used to be before. And that is now a part of who you are. And what I talked about last week is this idea that when you're in that midpoint, that halfway point, your potential is half realized. You have some wins and some losses. One of the most important things that you can do for yourself is resist the urge to give up on yourself and give up on your dreams and just keep going, even though it is quite emotionally challenging to continue putting yourself out there, continue dreaming, continue hoping, continue taking up space, continue taking risks when you haven't fully realized the outcome that you want. Because taking risks and showing up is emotionally vulnerable. And experiencing the wins, but also experiencing the fails is emotionally vulnerable. And that's just a lot of vulnerability. It's a lot of feelings to hold. And at some point, if we start to question whether it's possible for us to actually cross that finish line and build that deeper confidence, those challenging feelings and those emotional ups and downs might just become too much for us to hold. And we might just say, you know what? This isn't worth it. I'm just going to lay low. This was a silly dream. Why did I think I could do this? Why don't I just step aside and make things easier for myself? And this episode in particular, and last week's episode, are for you if you know that that's not your truth. If you know that that voice that is saying, let's just give up, let's just step aside, why are we even doing that? If you know that that voice is a lie and that your true desire is to keep moving forward and to cross that finish line and achieve that deeper growth and challenge yourself and show yourself what you are capable of, then these episodes are for you. Because the theme of today's episode is endurance. How do you stay in the messy middle long enough to experience permanent change? I am so excited to dive in. Before we go deeper, exciting announcement. Applications are open for my group program, the Art of Speaking Up Academy. Applications will be open for 1 week up until March 17th. If you've been wanting to work with me, now is the time. This is my signature program. It is a weekly program taught live by me in small, intimate cohorts, and I guide you and a group of like-minded, ambitious women through my 4-part curriculum that is designed to help you build genuine, lasting confidence and to help you grow your communication skills and your presence in meetings to an impressive, executive-friendly level. If you are wanting to feel unstoppable inside and have a super powerful, polished, persuasive voice on the outside, the Art of Speaking Up Academy is the program for you. This is not just a program where I lecture at you or where I throw more information at you. This is an interactive program where you get to challenge yourself to do deep mindset work, challenge yourself to practice and learn new frameworks for effective executive communication. You get to interact with me and get personal help from me whenever you get stuck. So this isn't just a learning experience. This is truly a transformation experience, and it is intended for people who are ready to engage more deeply in their growth process and who are craving a deeper level of internal transformation. If you are ready to focus more deeply on your confidence building and on your professional development so that you can step into that full potential and so that you can get on a path to leadership and maximize your impact as a leader, I want to invite you to join me. This week, you will see in the podcast that I dropped a bonus episode all about the Art of Speaking Up Academy. So I encourage you to listen to that episode to learn more about the program. Applications will be open for 1 week up until March 17th. And like I mentioned, I will put all of the details and the next steps and the link to the program in the show notes. And with that, let's get deeper into my advice for helping you push past the messy middle of building confidence and helping you truly solidify your transformation to that next level version of you. So there are a few different pieces and nuggets of wisdom that I'm going to be sharing with you in today's episode. These are all inspired by my orientation that I am keeping in mind when I am coaching people. So if a client is struggling or stuck or feeling like, oh, maybe I can't do it, these are the pieces that I'm keeping in mind when I am guiding them, because these are the pieces that will help them break through that moment of doubt or break through whatever obstacle has come up. And remember, the reason that the land of half-realized potential is challenging and the reason the messy middle of confidence building is challenging is because we're still encountering significant obstacles. We haven't yet gotten to the point where we're experiencing the level of ease that we desire in navigating obstacles. And as a result, we're encountering frictions. We're encountering moments that feel really difficult and frustrating and painful. And it is how we respond to those moments that plays a massive role in whether we're going to get through the messy middle and cross the finish line and really experience the level of growth that we are wanting. And the first thing that is so important to do to help you endure so that you can cross that finish line is to learn to hold your failures differently. So what do I mean when I say learn to hold your failures differently? When you have a fail, whether that's you sharing a suggestion in a meeting and you get crickets or you get pushback, whether it's you leading a meeting or giving a presentation and you lose your train of thought, it doesn't go the way that you want it to, but whatever the failure is, when you have a failure, the way that you relate to that failure in the aftermath of it has an enormous impact on the overall endurance that you will be able to bring to your growth process. So a lot of times when we have a failure, the way that we relate to it is we use it as evidence to reinforce our own badness and our own inherent lack of capability. So we have a fail, and then in our minds, we think things like, see, I can't do it. I'm not capable. I'm so worthless. I'm broken. I'm bad at this. And of course, when we approach it that way, not only do we feel really, really bad, but it makes us never want to fail ever again, because the failure is putting us in touch with a feeling of brokenness, a feeling of worthlessness, a feeling of badness. So we think to ourselves, wow, this feels really horrible. I don't want to ever want to feel this way again. So I don't want to ever take a risk again. I don't want to speak up. I don't want to take up space. I don't want to become a bigger leader, because when I fail, it hurts so bad. It feels so difficult. But often what we don't realize is that many of the bad feelings that come from failure are not coming from the failure itself. They're coming from the way that we are relating to the failure and relating to ourselves in the aftermath of the failure. So the solution to getting out of the messy middle is not to stop failing. And that's often the thought that we have, right? The failure feels so bad. We think to ourselves, oh, maybe I can find a way to build the confidence and get all the things I want without ever failing. So we think the solution is to stop failing so that I don't have to feel this way anymore. Now, of course, that's unrealistic. That's perfectionism, right? That's saying I should challenge myself. I should transform on a deep level. I should become fundamentally different. I should evolve in ways that are profound, but I shall not experience any failure along the way. It's unrealistic. There's no path to significant growth where we avoid failure. If we want to avoid failure, then we're back in the land of unrealized potential, where we're not going for it at all. We're just choosing to stagnate. But aside from that, if we're not choosing to stagnate, if we're choosing growth, there is no path to growth that doesn't include failure. So the solution is not to listen to that voice inside you that says, maybe if I just get it perfect every single time after this, that will be the answer to all my problems. Instead of you trying to avoid the failure, your goal is to relate to the failure differently. When the failure happens, instead of getting completely consumed by the thoughts of how awful you are, you want to try to acknowledge those thoughts, but offer yourself a deep level of respect, dignity, and compassion in the difficult experience of failure. So instead of you going into a spiral of, I'm so horrible, I can never do this, I'm such an embarrassment, it's you pausing and noticing, oh, I'm having this really intense experience where I'm thinking I'm horrible. I'm thinking something is wrong with me, but I respect myself. I love myself. I trust myself. So I'm not going to buy into those perspectives. And I'm not going to amplify that negative, mean voice inside me that is telling me that this is happening because I'm fundamentally bad or fundamentally broken. Instead, I'm going to navigate this experience by offering myself support, by reminding myself that this is a normal human experience I'm having, and by being kind and compassionate and encouraging to myself until I have recovered from the emotional state that I'm in. So notice how you're not denying that you're experiencing pain and that it feels uncomfortable. You're not saying, oh, I failed. I feel amazing. But you're also not saying, oh, I failed. I'm the worst human on the planet. What you're saying is, oh, I failed. All those thoughts and feelings about me not being good enough are coming up. All right, let me have my own back through this experience. Let me learn to lead myself compassionately and powerfully through this difficult moment, through this difficult experience. And it is that self-leadership that builds our confidence. It's that knowing that no matter what level of emotional pain we encounter within ourselves, we have an internal ability to walk ourselves through that pain, to help ourselves get to the other side of it. There are few feelings in the world that create more internal empowerment and more confidence and more of a sense of stability internally than knowing that when you are having a very hard, very difficult, very emotionally uncomfortable moment, you will not get lost in it. You will be able to guide yourself to the other side of it. When you know that you can do that, you feel so freaking unstoppable, right? Like feeling unstoppable doesn't come as a result of avoiding hard things. You're not going to have an experience where you show up perfect, you avoid hard things, you never fail. And then at the end of that, you're like, wow, I feel really unstoppable. The unstoppable feeling is going to come from all the hard moments and all the times that you exercise that muscle of this feels bad, but I've got it. This feels bad, but I will get through it. This feels bad, but this isn't going to stop me. It is the collection of those experiences that changes how you see yourself. You see yourself as someone who is fundamentally stronger, someone who can hold and bounce back from difficult experiences. And that is what makes you feel confident. And that brings me to the next item on my list, which is very closely related. So item number 1 was learning to hold and relate to your failures differently. Item number 2 is learning to hold and relate to your uncomfortable emotions differently. These go hand in hand, right? Because failure tends to elicit uncomfortable emotions. This is why failure is hard. So these two things are highly interconnected. But typically, when we fail, we faceplant, we have a flop, things don't go well, we experience uncomfortable emotions. And a lot of times, the intensity of those emotions can take us to a place where we think something must be wrong with us. And we have this experience of, wow, this feels so bad. This feels so intense. I must be horrible. Something must be horribly wrong with me to be feeling this bad and horrible. And when a bad feeling automatically brings us to a place of like, I must be so bad, I must be so broken if this is happening, it becomes really, really hard to keep pushing ourselves outside of our comfort zone because that feeling, like I mentioned, of being in touch with our own feelings of inadequacy, our own feelings of not being worthy is very, very painful. And one of the key pieces that I see time and time again that has helped me transform, that has helped my clients transform, is to relate to challenging emotions in a different way. Instead of relating to challenging emotions as evidence of our own inadequacy, we have to practice the internal muscle of learning to feel a sense of pride and learning to feel like a badass because of the depth of emotions that we are able to navigate. So when we feel an uncomfortable emotion, instead of us thinking, wow, I feel so uncomfortable, I must be broken for feeling this way, instead we practice responding to it by having an internal experience of, wow, this emotion is really hard and I'm navigating it and I'm showing up for it and I'm not yet knocked down by it and I'm still fighting and I'm still playing the game. Holy cow, am I a badass, right? Like, holy cow, am I capable? We learn to experience a sense of pride, a sense of adoration, a sense of respect for ourselves because of our ability to navigate something uncomfortable. And I believe this is literally the core of what leadership is. I don't believe that leadership is about any sort of like KPI or metric or financial result. I think that leadership is about being able to hold more complex emotions and challenges, because ultimately it is the ability to hold those challenging emotions that enables you to accomplish bigger things. The reason that people get stuck and aren't able to accomplish big things, and also the flip side, the reason that people break through and are able to accomplish big things is rarely coming from like a skill that they have or some intellectual capability. It's almost always coming from their emotional endurance, from their ability to handle the challenging emotions that come up. So every time you feel uncomfortable and you notice yourself going into a place of, oh, this uncomfortable feeling means something is wrong with me, instead, I want you to remind yourself, no. Good leaders, powerful leaders, unstoppable leaders, badass leaders, they can handle all of this. They can handle every single piece of this. And that is who I am becoming. And I'm going to use this experience to become more of that person. Now, there's one more piece that I want to share here in terms of my thoughts on helping you get past the messy middle and past the land of half-realized potential. And that is that you need to learn to see and experience your own greatness at all steps of the process. This is so important. A lot of times we think, when I get there, when I cross the finish line, then I will allow myself to feel pride. I will allow myself to feel like a badass. I will allow myself to think that I'm really freaking awesome and talented. And we wait to do that until some point in the future. And what we're really reinforcing to ourselves when we do that is that the me who I am right now isn't good enough. And I have to become fundamentally different in order to be worthy of feeling good about myself. So in a way, what we're saying is like, I am empty, something is wrong with me. And when I build this confidence and when I change, then I will be worthy of feeling good. Then I can celebrate myself. Then I can think I am awesome. And it's almost like we're using confidence to cover up feelings of not enough. We're hoping that if we can just do this thing, achieve this confidence, then we will feel solid inside. And it's very difficult to build genuinely lasting confidence when the entire premise upon which we build that confidence is the premise that something is wrong with us, the premise that we are broken. For me, it reminds me of building a house on a shaky foundation. You could build the most beautiful mansion that is sparkling and gorgeous, but if you built that house on an improper foundation, it will collapse into the ground no matter how strong it is. You need the foundation to be solid before you can build upon it. And confidence is the same. We can't try to build it upon a foundation of us thinking that we're not good enough just as we are right now. We have to learn to develop the ability to appreciate ourselves and to see our own greatness and our own accomplishments and to really allow ourselves to feel the goodness of that, even if we have a goal that hasn't yet been realized. Because that's us establishing this foundation of I am worthy. Nothing is wrong with me. Yes, I will feel more content and more fulfilled when I have the confidence that I want, but that doesn't mean that something is quote unquote wrong with me in the present moment. It just means that I'm reaching for my next growth. I'm reaching for my next thing, but I am still talented. I am still highly skilled. I am still highly capable. And this is so important, right? Because a lot of times we imagine, well, I don't have to be able to celebrate myself and like myself now. When I feel confident, I'll like myself. It'll be easier to like myself because I'll have all the confidence. But what ends up happening if we don't learn to appreciate ourselves in the present moment, to see our own greatness in the present moment, is we end up on this perpetual hamster wheel, this never-ending treadmill of never feeling good about ourselves because we go out and we get the promotion, we achieve the accolade, and we're still not feeling it at any more depth than at an intellectual level. Like we're still not feeling it deep in our bones because that work has to happen from the ground up. We have to learn to feel confident when we're not yet at the finish line, when we're not yet competent in the thing we want to be competent at, when we aren't yet showing up exactly how we want to show up. If we can't find self-respect, and if we can't find a sense of stability and empowerment in that experience, it will be very difficult for us to build any sort of confidence that lasts. True confidence can endure and survive even through situations where we're failing, even through situations where we're the least experienced person in the room, even through situations where we get it wrong or do something incorrectly, or where we're lacking in the level of competence that we would hope to have. True confidence stays with us through those instances. If we aren't able to maintain a sense of inner strength, unless we are perfect and have all the competence and all the skills, that is not actually confidence. That is perfectionism. That is a confidence that can only be alive when we are perfect, when we are showing up perfectly, when we are performing perfectly. And to me, that's not actually a true confidence. It's the illusion of confidence, but it is like a house of cards where if you pull one wrong card, the whole thing collapses. So if I make one mistake, one fail, if I have one situation I'm in where I don't yet know what I'm doing, all of a sudden, all that feeling of capability that I had is gone. And it is possible to feel strong and capable even when we lack competence, even when we fail. That is what equips us to accomplish greater things. So it's really, truly not about waiting until you're always getting it right and waiting until you've crossed the finish line to think that you're awesome. It's so important to be able to see that in the present moment. And I think what is so interesting about this is when I meet my clients for the first time and I learn what they do and I see their jobs and where they work and what they've accomplished, my thought is, oh my gosh, you have accomplished so much. And you listening to this podcast episode, you probably have accomplished so much too. And it's so important to be able to see that, to be able to internalize how incredible you are and not wait until some point in the future to allow yourself to feel those feelings and to allow yourself to appreciate your own greatness. Now, what a lot of my clients will say to me when I talk about this with them is they'll say to me, Jess, if I learn to appreciate myself now and love myself now, and I don't make that conditional, like I don't make loving myself conditional on me crossing this finish line and achieving this future accomplishment that I want to achieve, then I'm just going to get super lazy and I'm never going to reach for anything because I'm going to be content with who I am. And I have not found that to be true. I understand that fear. I understand the fear of stagnation and the fear of complacency. But what I have seen is it's typically the opposite. Typically, when you are withholding kindness and support towards yourself, it is slowing down your progress because it makes everything feel harder and heavier. And it is possible to appreciate yourself, have a deep sense of feeling content with who you are and hold on to your ambition. And oh my gosh, ambition feels so much better when you are pursuing it because you feel good about yourself and not because you feel bad about yourself. All the stress and all the pressure goes away. So it is possible to have a relationship with ambition that doesn't require you to hate yourself and punish yourself in order to be ambitious and go for bigger things. And in fact, it feels way less stressful. There's way less pressure. It's just way more sustainable. So in summary, to wrap today's episode in a bow, it's normal to experience a messy middle of building confidence. It is normal when you embark on your confidence building journey and you start taking up space and challenging yourself and taking risks. It is normal to have really big ups and downs, days where you feel unstoppable and amazing about yourself, and days where you feel really, really bad. This is a natural part of the process. And one of the most important things is to endure through that process long enough to achieve more permanent change and more permanent breakthrough in your inner strength and in your self-confidence. And It is so worth it to stick with it and achieve that more permanent breakthrough, because when you have that deeper resilience, that deeper strength, that deeper confidence, not only do you feel better inside, you feel proud of yourself, you feel satisfied, you feel a sense of like, I can handle things, I can take on the world, I can take on these challenges, but also then you show up so much bigger in the world. You use your voice to make an impact. You really demonstrate your full potential as a leader. You tend to grow much faster in your career. You challenge yourself at deeper levels and you experience the satisfaction of overcoming bigger challenges, which is so much fun, in my opinion. So it really is worth it to keep fighting through the messy middle. And some of the big tools and philosophies that will help you keep going and keep putting one foot in front of the other is, number one, to learn to relate to failure and uncomfortable emotions differently, and to see them as a really useful part of the growth process, as opposed to something that you are uniquely struggling with because something is wrong with you. And the second piece is to learn to see your greatness in the present moment and to be able to experience yourself as worthy and capable, even if you haven't achieved the level of confidence or success that you desire, and to recognize that it is still possible to have self-respect and to have an inner strength, even when you're in that messy middle of becoming the version of you who you want to be. And in fact, the more that you respect yourself and like yourself along that messy, imperfect journey, typically the faster you will cross the finish line and bring your goals to life. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. This was such a freaking fun episode to record. If you want to do this work with me, if you want my help in staying in the messy middle, if you want my help in learning to feel unstoppable in the face of obstacles and failures and challenges so that you can build a level of confidence that lasts and endures through difficult things, and so you can have that inner feeling of being unstoppable because you know you are strong enough and have that rock solid mindset to help you navigate difficult things, this is the inner work that I'm going to do with you in the Art of Speaking Up Academy. The inner work that we do in this program is deep. I'm not just doing like a light touch, sort of like, hey, think positive thoughts, recite positive affirmations, and that will make you feel better about yourself. I am guiding you through meaningful, deeper inner work to help you build genuine strength inside and to help you build a relationship with yourself that is solid enough to carry you through some of the challenges that your career is going to throw at you so you can gracefully navigate those challenges and show up as a powerful leader and a super strong voice in the room, even when things are hard and even when you are being called to rise and show up at a bigger level and navigate bigger, more challenging things. I am so excited to do that work with you. I will share the link for the Academy in the show notes. Applications are open March 10th through March 17th, and you can send me an email. I'll put my email in the show notes if you have questions about the program. Also, when you fill out the application, there's a space where you can ask me questions and you can let me know if you want to connect with me and set up a quick call to talk about the Academy and see if it's right for you. Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. Oh my gosh, this was so much fun. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.